We are just starting in a minute. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chairperson ma'am had just called, so I took her call and she should be joining shortly. Morning,
Yes.
Mr. Rajat Kumar. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Jyoti ma'am, should we begin or wait for?
I think there are 3 minutes more. If ma'am will join, that will be great. In the meantime, all the teacher in charges can just introduce yourself.
Seems the meeting is streaming live on YouTube. Would that be an intended outcome?
No, we don't want it. Arvind ji, we don't want this to be streamed live.
But it's not in stream, it's a private mode for the recording.
Okay, it's not being live streamed because I can see the message here.
Well, it's the private mode for our recording purpose.
Okay, it's
Okay.
on private mode.
It's in
Okay,
private.
Rajat ji, it's private. Yeah. Okay, so can we start from Noida? Rana sir, can you introduce yourself?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Mr. Rana, how are you?
Good morning, ma'am.
Been,
Yes, sir, I'm
it's
fine.
been quite
Nice
some
to see
years
you,
since
sir,
we met
again.
face to face.
Respected Chairperson ma'am, Jyoti ma'am, and respected principals, my dear colleague and my dear students. I'm overwhelmed to see Rajat sir again. He is a great mentor, guide, philosopher to us throughout from this competition. We learned a lot. Even my students from the previous teams, we learned a lot. We
Mr.
were
Rana,
personally
sir, you're talking about a wrong guy. I'm just Rajat.
No,
I don't
sir.
know who the sir is.
That-
I don't see him on the call.
That's humility.
That's,
No,
you
sir,
know,
please,
Rajat ji,
I mean, it's so
our school motto is Vidya Dadati Vinayam. Humility gives knowledge.
Knowledge gives
And
you.
I think you are one of the best examples of humility.
Sir, we are able to remember when we were disappointed not getting first position, and then you're the only person who among the judge who is able to tell us what are the shortfalls, what are the disadvantages in our team, and what are the area where we have to work upon. And we really followed those 8 areas and we improvised, and then we were able to sail through the global as a global winner. We are really thankful to you from the bottom of our heart.
And imagine the high one gets by clearing that after the effort put in at this stage, right? That's a different level of high. You can't really compete with that.
Sir,
But thank you. Listen, more than happy to at least give my thoughts on everything. But my only request, and very humble request to all the students who are going to be listening to me is don't take my word as gospel, right? I'm just another person who just happened to be born before you. But at the end of the day, it's your presentation, whoever the students are. And it's just a perspective. For all I know, the actual perspective of people sitting in Philly might be actually very different. Doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, as long as you believe you're putting in the right effort in the right direction without taking too many shortcuts, overall you're going to start doing very well in life. That's the overall objective. The short-term objective, of course, is the recognition you get. It's nothing more than a recognition. Trust me. By doing well in this, but the long-term objective is slightly different. So we'll get there.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the
Thank
encouraging
you, sir.
words. I think it's time now, and individual team leaders, you will definitely meet Rajat ji when you have those sessions. So I think, Divya ma'am, can we start now?
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am.
Once again, a very good morning to everybody who's joined in. Welcome to a session of interaction and enlightenment, organized by Amity Educational Resource Center and hosted by Amity Saket. This is being done under the visionary guidance of our respected chairperson, Dr. Mrs. Amita Chauhan, ma'am, who's a beacon of light that leads us towards multifaceted opportunities and successes. It is our honorable chairperson, ma'am, who has enriched the world of education with her objectivity, commitment, and idealism. It is her dream that Amitians reach across geographical boundaries and delve into the world of finance and investments, which is every day becoming more and more important. ma'am. She's not here, but in absentia, she should be joining shortly.
Ma'am
We
is
have a
here.
virtual
Ma'am is
sapling
here.
for her.
She's joined. Yeah.
She's joined.
Yeah.
Morning, Chairperson, ma'am.
She's busy. We can continue.
Okay, okay. So this virtual sapling will be given to her when she joins. And on behalf of our chairperson, may I present you with a virtual sapling as well, Mr. Rajat Kumar. Thank you so much for joining in. And we look forward to actually meeting you physically and giving you an actual virtual sapling as per the tradition of Amity International Schools. But once again, I know you are a very busy person. Once again, thank you so much for sparing time to be with us and for helping our children. I hope they will all achieve and realize their goals and ambitions, especially where Wharton is connected. May I request all the dignitaries who've joined in, Mr. Rajat Kumar, all the principals who are here from the schools that have succeeded in getting into this very, very important Wharton round, Jyoti ma'am, chairperson ma'am, teacher mentors, and the students to join us in the lamp lighting ceremony. Thank you so much. Amity Educational Resource Center was established in 2007 and has been a gateway for our Amitians to the world and helps to bring the world back to them through beautifully carved, very successful programs that Chairperson Ma'am has envisioned for her Amitians. So these are some of the programs that we are doing among many others, but one of the most important ones and one that Chairperson Ma'am is very, very passionate about is the Wharton Investment Competition conducted by Wharton Global Youth Program, which aims at promoting business, financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and leadership among high school students and educators around the world. Wharton Global Youth Program has been successfully organizing Wharton Investment Competition all across the globe since 2012. This competition helps students to gain knowledge regarding investing, which goes beyond the scope of their school curriculum. What differentiates this competition from other mock stock exchanges is that the winners are not decided on the basis of returns or investments, but on the basis of how they have thought the process through, the kind of strategies that they have used in planning the portfolio and undertaking the task that is assigned to them. Students from Amity International Schools have been participating in the competition since 2014-15 and have gathered a lot of laurels. In fact, some of these pictures and memories can take us back to the times. We can move on and show us how we have been there at the global front at Wharton, either whether it is Amity Saket or Noida or Push Vihar or 46, our school has been doing us proud every year. And this year we are very, very proud because out of the 50 teams all over the world, 5 teams are from Amity. And out of the 8 Indian teams, 5 are Amity. So 5 Amity schools out of 8 Indian teams, I think is a fantastic score. You would agree with me, Mr. Rajat Kumar?
We had an ethical dilemma a lot of times. Would it at least look fair on paper to award first, second, and third to Amity? Right.
So just to add, a little digression, but I'll quickly add. Our chairperson, ma'am, says whether it is our 12th result or the 10th result or any other result, she wants Amity to be first, second, and third everywhere. So at least work for it. And that is what we are doing, trying to realize a dream. We have done it at the All India rank in our CBSE boards. Noida had all 3 toppers from the same school. So we are working towards it in every field. And I hope Wharton brings us first, second, and third this time and, with your guidance. And all the help that you can give us.
Yeah, eventually the aim should be that once they go from school to university, and maybe after university or after their MBA or whatever, they should be first, second, and third with, I don't know, the best private equity firms or the best consulting firms or the best investment banks out there.
Absolutely agree with you. Jyoti ma'am is the director of AERC. Everybody knows that. And she's been working ceaselessly towards helping us realize Chairperson ma'am's dream. And this particular program is ma'am's passion and her, she's thinking about it all the time and has been, in fact, she's personally spoken to all the principals and all the students who are here to tell them that she wants them to work to the best of their ability and try to get the beautiful Wharton trophy. Over to you, Jyoti ma'am, to take the proceedings further. Thank you so much once again, and thank you so much, Rajat sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Divya ma'am. Actually, it's really a pleasure to introduce Rajat Kumarji to all of you. It's very rare that we reach such kind of a profile, so I'm feeling very happy to introduce Rajatji. Rajat Kumarji is currently a senior partner in debt fund, where he has, apart from leading investments, helped set up various systems and processes, especially around portfolio monitoring. Prior to this, Rajat Kumarji has been in senior roles across various industries. He has been the CEO of the digital business of Arvind Fashions, the COO of the digital business of ABP Digital, the CEO of the used car buying business for Car Dekho, and the head of pricing and GTM functions at Snapdeal. He was also a senior member of the strategy team at Star Television, a consultant with McKinsey and Company, as well as consulting with Ernst & Young. Rajatji is a chartered accountant and an MBA from the Wharton School. He has ranked 5th, again 5th and 33rd across India in his chartered accountancy examinations, and was part of the Wharton's honors list. And to top it all, was a perfect score holder in his GMAT examination. That's Rajatji for you. Over to you, Rajatji, now to address all the students.
Great. I mean, let's not read too much into the introduction. But I think what the introduction kind of does bring to the fore slightly is that the reason I'm talking to you today, the reason I was doing all these different roles, was simply because my formative years in school were very good. I got into a good school, had the benefit of some good teachers, and just did well academically. There was no other license I had to go out into the world and hopefully do well for myself. So this was the only license I had. The concept of for good education, and the other, along with that, what is nurtured in me all the time was curiosity. So the only thing I can offer right now to everyone, and we'll go through, the discussions and the debates around each of the cases, is curiosity and a little bit of I don't even want to call it guidance, a little bit of perspective on maybe how a third party might want to look at the particular cases. Now, again, the third party may or may not have similar views as the rest of the people judging the competition, but you know what, it's just any other input as far as you're concerned. So very happy to help. If we want, we can just dig into it directly, or whatever you suggest. Sorry, ma'am. I think
you're muted, Jyoti ma'am.
Rajatji, we would like to listen to you first, and then after that, students will ask one. Each team will ask one question.
Okay. So why don't we do this? I believe all the teams are here, right?
Yes.
Great. So why don't I do this? Let me give some overall points of view on all the presentations taken together, and then of course we can take individual Q&A. So as you might have noticed from the background, I wear multiple hats, right? So one of the hat is that of an investment professional. So reasonably familiar with terms around portfolio monitoring, so on and so forth. So there was that person who was reasonably very, very, very happy, right? Saying, okay, XYZ things are happening. There's another part of me which has been a consultant, right? When I was advising clients with EY and McKinsey. Uh, I think there's a part of me that part of me which felt a little unsatisfied, and the reason I'm saying that, and across the board, is that what we're doing in school, and I'm glad we're doing this in school, is that I think we're moving from a typical math sum where you're given all the inputs in the question and you're saying, you've got X variable, Y variable, blah blah blah, and now what's the final answer? And the final answer ends up being exact. Real life isn't like that. Real life, A, the answers are never exact. B, all the inputs may not be in the question, right? Which career do you have to choose? There is no, it's not a math sum, for example. Similarly, we're talking about the investment goals of Helen, right? Her name was Helen? Yeah. Helen. And there were two goals: a short-term goal and a long-term goal. The short-term goal was reasonably mathematical. You are given X rupees, you have to multiply it with whatever to get at least so many rupees after, I think, 5 years, right? You have to make a gain of $25,000 over a $40,000 sum or something like that. And then there was a long-term thing, and the long-term thing was, listen, I want to set up a consulting firm. That's all there was. Can you help me set it up? And then we've gone all ahead and done a very, very good job of trying to build a portfolio for her. But what I don't know at the end of the day, but which I think I was all of 30 years old when McKinsey kind of taught me in my head, is therefore what? What's the end result? Will she, using that corpus, be able to set up her consulting firm or not? Because that's the ultimate objective you're trying to meet for her, right? But you don't know how much money she'll need for the consulting firm. So will you end up making some assumptions? Will the consulting firm have one people, two people, five people? What will the salaries be? What rate of money will it have to grow to be able to sort of set all that up? And you don't know all that. I know it's so I don't know whether it's the right thing to do or not, but could we make assumptions? Could we sort of say, okay, maybe this is the kind of money you'll need. Let's work towards that kind of a goal, right? I think a couple of teams were trying to do that and then work backwards. So that would kind of tie it up. Listen, we've tried meeting your short-term goals. We've tried meeting your long-term goals. The long-term goals, the kind of growth that you require in your portfolio seems to be completely ridiculous because इतने पैसे में consulting firm नहीं set होता है, so on and so forth. But therefore हमने risky strategy ली, या इतने पैसे में हो जाएगा, therefore हमने conservative strategy ली, या so on and so forth, right? Because now you're always talking about that North Star metric and then working backwards from it, as opposed to building a portfolio for the sake of a portfolio, right? So that is one thing which the consultant part of me would have liked, but the people judging you will not be that, so it's okay. The other three, four broad level thoughts I had were, how do you link your strategy? Do you want to be aggressive? Do you want to be moderate? Do you want to be low risk, right? With what you want to achieve, right? A typical logical flow of a typical investment manager's thought process is, I'll start with the client goals. I will then figure out whether those client goals are achievable or not, and then my strategy will be tailored to those client objectives. For example, if you want um, if you want money regularly because you have no other means of income, but you have to pay rent for the house, etc., etc., you're going to take your corpus, you're going to throw it in some kind of an investment which gives you a regular income or a regular dividend or a regular interest, and use that interest to continue paying rent and whatever else, education expenses, food expenses. On the other hand, if all this is taken care of, you're only bothered about, can I get XYZ corpus? and can I get XYZ corpus after this year, which is then enough to meet XYZ objectives. The other part, of course, is that XYZ corpus reasonably certain to be achieved, right? If there's a huge amount of volatility in your strategy, then for all you know, while 60% of the times you'll meet your target or rather exceed your target, there's a very good chance that 40% of the times you've got only 2% returns, right? Simply because it's volatile, whatever you've chosen. So you want to avoid that as well. But 15 years is a usually enough and long term for you to actually go reasonably aggressive, because even if there's short term volatility over a period of time, it evens out. Right? 15 years is reasonably long. The other question which I had when I was sort of thinking from a client perspective was this lady sitting somewhere in the US, right? She loves traveling the world, so on and so forth. But she wants to set up this consulting firm. वो consulting firm US में set होगा, इंडिया में सेट होगा, बहरीन में सेट होगा, जापान में सेट होगा, पता नहीं है, राइट? हमें पता नहीं है. बट जो हमने पोर्टफोलियोज बनाए हैं, दे आर मल्टी कंट्री पोर्टफोलियोज मोस्टली. अगर मल्टी कंट्री पोर्टफोलियोज हैं, देन that money will then have to be brought back to the US, assuming कि वो US में शुरू करना चाह रही है. Are there any potential currency risks as well? पता चले कि कोई पोर्टफोलियो आपका 10% ग्रो कर रहा है या 20% ग्रो कर रहा है इंडिया में, बट करेंसी 10% डिप्रिशिएट कर रही है, तो नेट गेन तो 10% हुआ उसके लिए, राइट? Will that still be enough for her to meet her dream of setting up a consulting firm back in the US, right? So those are second, third level questions, which I think judges remember. So as a judge, for example, if you think about 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes presentations that every team makes, beyond a point of time, I think you get used to a particular level कि हाँ इसने stock market को analyze किया है, इसने यहाँ पे ये invest किया यहाँ पे. So you're constantly, for you, therefore it becomes a choice of, should I give a 7 to the team or an 8 to the team or a 6 to the team or whatever else on ABCD components, because you're roughly plus minus 20% from each other, hand on heart. So what's the really great part that's really, really making you stand out is probably the delta that's going to differentiate between a team that judges remember after the things and after they're trying to sort of bring the scores together to say, oh, that team had this very unique kind of perspective on XYZ things, right? Because that's what stands out. Everything else is within a plus minus 10, 20% range of each other. So some of these questions you can probably sort of think through, because at the end of the day, it's going to help the client as well. And you, whether you're trying for example, if you tomorrow make a portfolio in an African country which is giving you great returns, but the currency continues to depreciate against the US dollar, not going to really help, right? Okay. I also saw a lot of reference to her personal mission, to her personal zeal, and therefore, focusing on companies which have that as a mission as well. Interestingly, the first question that would come to my mind is what happens when a company has great returns, but only an average performance in ESG parameters. Similarly, if there's a great ESG company but has not great returns, what would you do, right? Is there a is when you're bringing in all these, are these boundary conditions you're trying to set? Are these filtering criteria you're trying to set? What's really going on in your mind? It's important for you to bring the framework up front, saying, listen, I'm going to give XYZ weightage to these factors vis-a-vis another situation where my primary factor is this, but the moment this boundary condition is skipped, I will not look at this, no matter how great you are. For example, you may be the richest person on the planet, but I will not respect you if I believe that you've done murder and gotten away with it, right? It's not a weightage question anymore. It's a straight filtering question. It's not going to happen. So all those kind of things would probably be interesting for people to get a very, very good sense of your exact strategy in the entire scheme of things. And you can probably talk about it, not talk about it, completely your criteria. I'm just giving you some third party perspectives. Okay. मेरा इतना ही यही बाकी टाइम आपका है. Feel free to ask anything and everything. I've gone through your presentations at least twice each. I have also noted presentation level Q&A on that. So happy to get into those, but happy to get your questions as well.
Thank you. That was really intriguing and interesting. Now I request Noida Team 1 to ask your question.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. So, sir, one question that we had was in the semi-finals
Sorry,
guideline.
sorry.
It has been
Just to
that,
double check, Noida
you
had
have to
two
be
teams.
mindful of the fact
Your speak
that
group.
this is a pitch to your client, Hillary. So the presentation has to be
Sorry, just
made with that in mind. That
sorry.
yes,
Can I? Sorry, which team is this? Is this Noida had two teams, right?
this is
Silk Route
Noida
or
team
the other?
1. The team
Noida
B.
team 1. Okay.
Beats from D Street. Beats from
Got
D
it.
Street.
So, sir, how in depth should the technicalities that we are presenting in the video should be? And, should we focus more on the storytelling and the engaging aspect of it, or the technicals and the exact details?
Okay. So, let me just. You chose Schwab, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. So I'll tell you where to answer your question specifically. I think start with the logical flow. Right? Step one, we did this. Step two, for example, we wanted to assess what's going to give us the best growth, making it an example, right? How do you judge best growth? We use ABCD ratios to judge the best growth stocks. Within that, we then use XYZ techniques to whatever else, right? I think the logic of the story is far more important than the exact measure you used to solve for that particular parameter, right? You may have used Trenner ratio, someone else may have used Sharp ratio, someone else may have used XYZ ratio, doesn't matter, right? But where in the story it fits is far more important, right? To know that I am judging growth, but I am using this ratio to also check, is my riskiness going out of hand, right? Or is my portfolio riskiness or correlation going out of hand, for example, right? So focus on the story, focus on the logic. To justify the logic, you may have used XYZ techniques. It's okay to just give a sentence around each of them. Okay. But focus on the flow, the logic.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Amity Pushvihar, you can ask your question, please.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Sir, in Wharton instructions that we have received, they have given importance to creativity. So, how can we add any creative elements in our presentation?
You guys have usually been the most creative anyway. Especially when I remember when I used to judge, you know, but I don't have a ready answer to that on creativity. I mean, for example, you could set aside some funds for XYZ things. Maybe it just so happens that we found this great growth stock, which does, I don't know, I'm just making it up, focused on dogs or whatever, or, and maybe this is a special some way keeping aside for your Labradoodle. That can backfire as well, because someone can say, boss, North Star metric ek hai, ye sab kya kar rahe ho? So I don't know the answer really, right? Depends on what you can do. I'm thinking, let me see if something comes to mind other than that, but no ready answer, honestly.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Gurgaon 46, over to you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. So we basically wanted to ask you that considering that in the current times, people don't really prefer PowerPoints and it's more like videos and infographics. Do you think it's important for us to put citations in our videos? Or can that be limited to the end or reference points?
I would say citations are important. As a matter of fact, I was reading the instructions, and there was a page on references, etc., or source material. But video as a format doesn't do good justice to be able to put it. It's okay to sort of put it right at the end. It's okay, yeah, put it right at the end as long as people know, because you're submitting it in a particular format, right? Either a video or whatever. It's okay for people to will pause on that, will go through that and do it. Since you won't want to take away the slide or the exact message of the particular moment in the video at that point in time, it's okay, especially if the same slide or the same video moment has 6 or 7 citations. Then to clearly not, you'll have to go back and create an index.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Noida, Team 2, Silk West Capital. Over to you.
I'm Lakshan Gurani. Sir, my question was that we have used several models in our whole strategy, but should we emphasize more on what is that particular model or how we have incorporated that particular model? Because can we assume that the judges will already know about these models, or do we have to explain the whole, as we have limited time only?
So I'll tell you the reality. Judges usually won't know about models which you guys have created for yourselves, right? Judges know terms. Judges will know what a PEG ratio is. Judges will know what a market beta is. Judges will not know the stochastic model you've created using 3 separate axes or whatever else, right? Having said that, they don't need to know. What a judge would find way more valuable, I would imagine, is the thought process, right? The model can be super accurate, but if the thought process has gaps in it, that is a bigger challenge as far as a judge would be concerned, because essentially that means that the team has done a very good job of being quantitatively right, but from a critical thinking perspective or analytical thinking perspective or a completeness of advice perspective, they've left some big gaps in their logic. That's far more of a challenge.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And last but not the least, Saket ji.
Good morning, sir. Sir, our question.
You can call me Rajat, yaar. It's okay.
Sir,
I'm not your teacher, na? Kya fark padna hai?
sir, we respect you and admire you, so that level of respect should be there. So, sir, our question basically was that how do we
So that means you'll start calling me Rajat if I were to start shouting at you, because then you lose respect. Then it's okay to call me Rajat, na?
No, no, sir. So we respect your guidance and the
Okay, I'm
what you
just
give.
embarrassing you. Carry on.
Yes, sir. So the thing is, our question is that how do we maintain a balance between the creative, fundamental, and technical aspects of the presentation while still giving light to the case study? Until what extent can we add humor to the presentation so that while it is professional, it is also engaging for a layman?
It's nice to have a sense of humor, a little bit of humor, simply because from a judging perspective or from a whoever's seeing these videos, it breaks the monotony.
Yes, sir.
There are so many presentations, and even if you guys play your presentations one after another, I'm promising you, by the time you've hit the last one, you're kind of like, हाँ मुझे पता है, ये करेंगे, फिर ये करेंगे, फिर ये करेंगे, फिर ये करेंगे. तो you know you're looking for something which is unique, just to sort of remember that when you're compiling scores. So kar sakte ho to kar lo. The second part to your question, how do you maintain a balance? Um, I think the story ends up being engaging when you're, for example, all of you, what you've tried to do is create similes, for example, right? said, okay, this is like surgery. Someone else has said it's like playing a musical instrument, so on and so forth, right? That's unique, right? Vis-a-vis various other teams which might come. There could be some unique investment strategies as well, where you say, I will always, I don't know, rebalance or something, but you guys are doing it anyway. Humor adds an element. One of the things which I kind of noticed, and please see all of your presentations, is all of them are roughly 8 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes long. Maybe some of them are 10 minutes. I don't know. उसमें जो टाइम दिया गया है in setting up the introduction of who she is, who her dog is, who her this is, who her that is, etc. Can you skip it down a little bit? Because what's happening to the judge is they know all this now, right? They've heard 50, 40, 30 teams talk about the exact same thing. पता है उन्हें. What they're really looking for is your thought process and what you can do differently. So if anything in the introduction is taking you more than 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, chances are you're probably going a little overboard there. Use that time to add some humor element, add some, bringing it all back together element, saying, okay, ये मेरा short term था, देख इतने में there's a X% probability कि आपके goals meet हो जाएंगे, 20% risk ले रहे हैं, हम ले रहे हैं because of blah blah blah. Similarly, आपका long term में ये होना है, there's a basis this we think there's a very high probability. Here's your, so you're using that time saved here to do it there. उससे ज्यादा बैलेंस कर नहीं पाओगे आप, क्योंकि आपको डिटेल्स में भी जाना है.
Okay,
इनका काट सकते हो या इनका थोड़ा क्रेडिट्स काट सकते हो, तो इट विल रियली हेल्प.
thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. I think, sir, you have given some very, very good points to think over. I think if students can just pick up these points, it will really be very, very helpful to them. Thank you so much. And that was the common session. And before we start the individual sessions, I would request the teacher faculty, teacher in charges, if you have any question, you can ask right now. Monica ma'am? If you have any thought, Rana sir, Priyanka ma'am, Richa ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening session. I'm sure it's really going to help us have a better way to be able to make the video now. And like the most important thing, like for us, I think has always been this balance between being the creative part and the the theoretical part. So that is something that is the reason the children also are doing this. So yes, what you answered I think will really help us.
And there's no right answer to it, honestly. I think the team will get to know, okay, if I think the litmus test is if they show it to 5 other classmates or 5 other groups of classmates. If they get it, it's great, right? यार समझ में आया तुम्हें? Because fundamentally I think the goal was also कि यार उसको finance नहीं आता इतना ज़्यादा, from what I remember. And you can actually say that we actually tested this even our model with our classmates who didn't know finance or whatever, just to say कि यार have I simplified it enough for people to understand? That to my mind would be a good thing which judges might also remember saying, हाँ यार इन्होंने ये किया है या उसने ये किया है, etc. अब प्रॉब्लम है आप पांचों को मैं बता रहा हूँ तो ऐसा मत करिएगा कि
that risk will always be there.
Sir. It's always like the competition in amity also is there first.
Pretty fierce.
Yes, of course.
Listen, guys, whether you do very well or not so very well, all of you guys, I'll take you out for lunch. So don't worry about this whole competition business. Yeah, life is way longer than this.
Another thing, sir, I wanted to ask was that like when we do a top-down approach, so we should have like a litmus test and a strategy of our own, like, depending on the aspect that we've taken for the company, for the industry and for the economy, like three kind of models to be able to do it, or like a one comprehensive model, like how much time should we give to
Doesn't
the
even
to go to that also?
So the answer would be it doesn't even matter if it's an independent model or not. Because आप इंडिपेंडेंट मॉडल बनाएंगे फिर आप उसको एक्सप्लेन करने में एकदम से टेक्निकल हो जाएगा, राइट? बट द क्रिटिकल पार्ट इज कि देखिए हमारा ये पिरामिड था. वी स्टार्टेड ऑफ विद कंट्री, विद इन दैट वी looked at the industry, within that we looked at the whatever, because otherwise the data set is so huge कि आप कभी filter कर ही नहीं पाएंगे. And the reason it's also important to start from countries because आपका a lot of risks are very country specific. Political risk वहां पे ज्यादा है. चाइना में फॉर एग्जांपल XYZ चीजें, करेंसी मूवमेंट्स आर प्योरली रिलेटेड टू अ कंट्री, राइट? And that's why country का important. But do you need to come up with something which is your own filter? May not be. You can use a public filter. There are XYZ country investment indices, हमने use कर लिए. And that's fine. किसी ने अलग अपना बना दिया तो very good. किसी ने publicly available data को use कर लिया. I think the more critical part is that मैंने ये सब चीजों के बारे में सोचा और उसके लिए लॉजिक लगाया मैंने. और उसके बाद ढूंढा क्या इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए होगी इस लॉजिक को मीट करने के लिए. ओ, दिस वाज पब्लिकली अवेलेबल, उठा लिया. इसके लिए मैंने खुद बनाया, कुछ कर लिया, राइट? दैट वुड बी सो मच मोर interesting as long as that flow keeps coming. That's all.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Priyanka ma'am, do you have any question in mind?
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, Jyoti ma'am. Good morning, sir. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. And thank you, sir, for always helping our Amity teams and the students and solving their queries, because at this stage they have a lot of questions. So just one simple question, like a presentation duration that has been specified by Wharton this year is around 10 minutes for the presentation. So how much time, according to you, should be devoted towards introducing the team? Because they say that the members and the team leader will be visible only during the introduction time. So what should be the ideal time or most appropriate time when we are introducing the team? Thank you so much.
There's no, I mean, honestly, and it may sound a little blunt, but people are waiting to get to the meat of the problem, right? They know they're all students, they know their class, whatever it is, and they won't remember the names. Reality mein. So it is perfectly fine to keep it short and say, I'm blah 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 and this was my role. So for example, I'm the team lead, my role was this, I'm the whatever. Keep it short. It's important because I think more important than the names per se, because hand on heart people will forget the names, was either adding some creativity there. Oh, I'm the chief investment officer or whatever, and I saw some teams do that. Or during the entire thing, I was responsible for, I don't know, maintaining data sets or keeping track of competition or doing country analysis or whatever else, right? Because that leads to, oh, they have thought about and structured their work. उसमें अब जितना टाइम लगे naturally अच्छा है, because you're buttressing your ultimate objective of saying, listen, we thought about XYZ things logically and we created work streams and these are the people who were in charge of various work streams, and that's fine. It's adding to this.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
The introduction also can be done very creatively. Richa ma'am, do you have any question in mind?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for taking out
Morning, ma'am.
time for us.
No, my pleasure.
Just a second. I'll just. Yes, sir. So my question is very similar to what Monica ma'am had to ask about creativity, because that is the biggest problem we all are facing right now. You've answered that very well for us, that it has to be very individualistic so that we stand out on our own. My question for you is that since you mentioned trainers and Sharps ratio, my students, our presentation is very simple. We haven't included anything very technical in nature. Is that okay?
Fantastic.
Should we be scared of that?
Not at all. Matter of fact, it's a double-edged sword. When you get very, very technical, given that you have 10 minutes, right? There's a very good chance you're getting technical and explaining the technicals at the cost of storytelling, as opposed to buttressing the storytelling. The moment you do that, there's a good chance that the story itself or the logical flow itself may get broken, because now you're getting very deep into the greatest model on earth that you've created, or the extensive research you've done on sharp ratios, right? But wherever you do use it, even it's a very simple concept, just ensure it's the right concept. I'd be very scared if people are using XYZ ratios to make a claim, but that ratio is a wrong ratio to use for that claim to be made. That would, no matter how great the rest of the thing is, people will not be able to give you marks, because they know that the other judges have caught on to it. They know that they have caught on to it कि यार ये तो fundamentals में ही problem आ रही है. तो इससे अच्छा कि जहां पे आप आंसर हो बात ही मत करो, कोई बात नहीं, स्टोरी टेलिंग पे चल जाएगा, ऐसा कुछ है नहीं.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Rana sir, your question, please.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, my like the theme development model. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible now.
Like, sir, if we have developed any model, like the team has developed any model, so the back testing, do we have to show the process of verifying those factual figures, or the result is going to be sufficient to be present in the presentation? Well, what is an ideal course of action if any model is developed?
No harm in giving a link to it, right? Because as I was going through the presentations, what I noticed was that there were a lot of models being discussed and talked about, and some of them were proprietary, etc., etc. I, as a judge, have zero means of verifying whether those models were actually created, or whether, knowing that it's a 10-minute format, I can get away by even randomly mentioning ABC models without ever having made them, right? No one's going to question me on that, and therefore it's okay to make them. So there will definitely be a benefit if you are referring to a model, for you to be confident enough to say, hey buddy, here's the link, aap khud dekh lijiye, right? That adds to stuff.
Sir, one more thing.
अगर वो नहीं है, sorry.
Wharton now says you are not supposed to provide any external link through which we can verify anything. That is restricted now. So in that case, how we have to go about?
External link even to your own work?
Yeah, sir. But if you want to redirect our work to any other website or any other drive, so that is totally restricted now. We can't do that.
No, but you can can't you, as a backup, maybe at least give screenshots of work happening at the back end? So
Yes,
8
sir.
multivariate or output of a regression or whatever else, just to buttress the whole thing, as opposed to just talking about the model. And maybe there could be a half a second screen which will show up the output of the model working in some kind
Yes.
of a format, happening behind you as you talk about it. But there could be some models where the conceptualization itself could be a challenge. For example, I remember शायद आपका था या किसका था, जहाँ पे I think one of the questions I wrote, will come to the team part, was around ये model से किया भी जा सकता है. It was around I think risk tolerance or something. अगर है तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है, because मुझे लग रहा था कि शायद वो बिल्कुल ही मैनुअल प्रोसेस होगा as opposed to a modeling process, right? So it's better to actually give some kind of a screenshot, etc., because otherwise बहुत ज्यादा jargon और बहुत ज्यादा technical हो रहा था कई presentations में, और मुझे डर लग रहा था कि स्टोरी टेलिंग से दूर तो नहीं जा रहे हैं कोई, और या वर्स स्टिल ऐसा jargon तो नहीं यूज किया जा रहा है जिसका बैकअप नहीं है.
Sure, sir.
That is a problem. अगर वो है.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you so much. And before we break up into the individual sessions, I would like to thank Divya ma'am for organizing this workshop, and to all the teachers involved, Alka Saxena ma'am, Charu Bhatnagar ma'am, Monica Thareja, and Mukta Singh ma'am. Thank you so much. And most of all, I would also want to thank Rajat sir for his wonderful inputs and his very different way of thinking and giving something which is, which students may not think of. They might be too involved in the technical aspect, but the other aspects which are equally important, you have brought the focus of the students at the right place. So I really want to thank. And then I would like to request Monica ma'am now to kindly go ahead with the individual sessions. Some of the students will have to leave and come back again. So Monica ma'am, can you please tell them the sequence so that
Yes.
they know when to come?
Yes, thank you so much, Jyoti ma'am. Now, first, before I give you the instructions for the individual session, I just would request the mentor teachers to ensure that the feedback form, the link of which has been put in the chat box also, and it was shared in the email also to be filled by all the students. And now for the individual session, what we're going to do is we're going to put all the children in the waiting room. And 2 minutes before, and only one team will be there with sir and can have a 15-minute individual session. The sequence will be Noida team 1, which is Beats from T Street, will be the first team. Second will be AIS PV team, then 46 team, then Noida second team, and then Amity sir.
And 15 minutes, ma'am, for each session?
Yes, 15 minutes for each of the individual sessions. And so I'm going to make all the other students except for Noida team 1 wait in the waiting room, and they'll be admitted into the team as per their sequence. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you
By
so
the way,
much.
it's an open thing. In case anyone even wants to have a separate chat with me, if 15 minutes is not enough for them or whatever, they're more than welcome. I mean, I'd be happy to give them whatever help they might need. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay,
think
sir.
children, you
Noted.
should